Hey, this is Mo Lunsford at Union Grove Lumber Studios.
And this is the Shed Geek. We want to welcome you to today's episode. Okay, welcome back to another episode of the Shed Geek Podcast. And I've got a familiar face on today. Sam, I don't know if you noticed what I did here. You probably can't see it on screen. I grew my hair out. I don't know if you can see anything.
I see a little bit.
You surprised me one time and cut all your hair off. So I thought I'd surprise you and grow a little hair.
I got you. I actually cut my beard off. I had a big old beard going on. Too many people were starting to refer to me as biblical people, so couldn't have that.
Yeah, I like it. That's good. Well, welcome back for one to the show. It's been a while. It's been a little bit since me and you got to get on here and chat. We do chat from time to time, but it's not on the record here on the show. And funny statistic. So we're in January. Technically, March will be the start of year number 4 for the podcast. I know that's hard to believe.
Wow.
I will, end of February, we'll complete 3 years, and March will start. The idea was that it would have launched in January. It took us a couple of months to get things together, so that's why it didn't launch until March of 2021. Mm-hmm. But, so it's in season 4 technically, because I ran the seasons from January to January, so we're technically in season 4. And of all of that time, we did a 2-part episode with you early on. But just fun fact for anybody in the industry, this is all for those who adore you and those who don't. You are still the number 1 most listened to episode of all time. So believe it or not, you're like you know, what was somebody was talking about, what was his name? Is it the host, Howard Stern? I don't listen to Howard Stern, but they were talking about Howard Stern, and people were talking about how they used to tune into him, and they would say, people who love him and hate him are tuning in. And they'd say, why? They want to see what he's going to say next. So I guess that's you, man. Like, you know, your fans and your friends and your foes both listen in, I guess, because you still remain the number 1 most listened to episode of all time.
That's great.
Yeah.
So I guess March is 4 years since the Pennsylvania Bash.
Yeah, that'd be right. Yeah, because we were. Yeah.
Wow.
That's where we got a couple episodes right off the bat. I think we had done one with Charles, and I think we had done one with Haley Paint, maybe. But then we got Gideon, if you remember.
Actually, if you're in your fourth season, it would have been 3 years ago. Yes. Okay. It was 21. You're in your 4th season, so it's 3 years.
Yeah.
Yeah, I still remember that. I still remember that first trip we took into Ohio when you told me you want to do a podcast, and I was like, "You're crazy. That'll never work."
Well, I'll tell you what, it is crazy, and I tell people every one of my personality tests come back as a trailblazer. I wish I could say I felt like that was me on the inside, maybe, but I don't know. I just like to try new things or whatever. And, you know, the start, you remember you were there whenever Deanna got her, diagnosis, or, you know, she found out she had cancer. And that was one of the biggest struggles for me, was like you and Kyle were on the road a lot, and I couldn't get out on the road. And, you know, you got your responsibilities as a husband and a father, but then, you know, you got your responsibilities to take care of your family too. Right. So, you know, I just remember being stuck between how am I going to be on the road? And like all of you guys were great as far as like helping out and like picking up any of my slack or anything like that, where I couldn't be on the road. But that was where the podcast really seemed to make sense at the time, because it could allow me to connect, you know, with people who might be potential customers as well. And I enjoyed that, because like customer relationship and relationship building is sort of my thing. So like, I still talk to a lot of those people, you know, and I know that's your thing too. And that's just kind of where we met, like me and you. That's where we identify, and we definitely are the same. is on relationship building. And, yeah, man, you're just, someone asked me recently, cause I had mentioned, putting Phil Falls on my Mount Rushmore of Shed people. And they said, who else? And I was like, man, anyone I do or don't say, I'm going to offend someone, no matter who I say is and isn't, I'm going to offend. But, I think it's fair to officially say publicly on the show. That way I've got some accountability here that you would definitely be on that for me. You can
put me on the backside.
Yeah. Will do.
I'll face the other way.
Yeah, no, I get it. But you were just one of those characters that I found immediately. I say characters just because you kind of, my goal in doing the podcast was to interview folks like you, not to really necessarily come alongside. That wasn't the initial thought of doing this. It was like, man, this guy's cool. I want to talk to him. And of course, back, by the time it started, we already knew each other and was working together. But, I still felt like, that's what made it kind of fun and made it cool, was being able to interview guys like you. So I felt like I just wanted to say that officially, put you up on that. Some people are going to say, some people are going to say, yay.
All good.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. For me, I say yay, because you've done a lot and been an inspiration, and certainly trailblazed in this industry for years, and given folks like me an opportunity to even have a platform. So that's thank you very much for that.
Yeah. The one good thing, no, not the one good thing. One of the good things that with it starting, I kind of feel like you kicked it off with the Pennsylvania Bash. Like you had done some of your opening episodes or whatever. I think when it moved, so in my head, I'd kind of talked myself into maybe he can do this. But at the Pennsylvania Bash, set up there on the side of the stage, and to see you actually sitting there and talking with different people, that's when it kind of, for not just me, but for everyone, it moved from our head to our heart, in the fact that this is exactly what the haulers are trying to do with the bash, is to get people to walk across the street and talk to each other, get to where they help each other more. Instead of always being in competition with each other, they're actually helping each other. They're learning to know each other. And it. I mean, anybody that follows the hauler page, if somebody's broke down at 2:00 in the morning, somebody's going to go get it. That all started from a Facebook page, from starting to hang out in the barbecue events. And, I got to give Caleb Miller, Mervyn Vargas, and Carl Schrock a shout out, because they even started their barbecues before the bashes even started. They are the original pioneers. And then Jason just got the brilliant idea, hey, I'm going to do one up in the Northwest. And there was just a bunch of us guys from all over the country said, hey, we're going to go support this, because we think it's a good thing. And to be at the Pennsylvania Bash and to see you guys sitting over there interviewing all these different, not just haulers, you were interviewing all kinds of different people. Gideon Zook, epic episode. That's the one that should be number one.
It's close.
Absolutely
it
love.
Close.
Yeah, love that episode. Richard's episode, where he really gets into the nuts and bolts of what rent to own really is. Huge episode. My episodes are good because they're fun. You're not going to learn a whole lot. You'll learn some little pieces along the way, but those happen. And it's like it was a great place to kick it off, to be able to go from there.
Well, I believe possibly Richard's is number 2 and Gideon's is maybe number 3 listened to all time.
That's good.
I'll tell you also, you guys promote yourselves well, whether you intend to or not. It's kind of like Kleenex, which is a tissue, or a weed eater, which is a trimmer. Guys like Sam Byler, guys like Richard Miller, probably even guys like Gideon Zook, who unintentionally brand themselves as, one of the guys that goes way back, a pioneer in this industry. Your uncle, Benny Byler, goes way back 50 years, in this industry. How would a customer know what shed brand you sell? Of course, you and I work in the shed industry and can often spot a brand a mile away just by its colors, styles, and customizations. However, to most customers, all sheds are created equal, right? Wrong. You want the customer to know your shed brand. An Identigrow nameplate helps your customer with 5 key components every shed customer needs: identity, information, authenticity, advertising, and ownership. Identigrow, helping identify your shed brand for over 20 years. So you and like Richard, you know what I mean? And there's a whole cast of characters around the industry that just kind of, they're just fun. They're just fun to hang around with. So like if you were never on a podcast or never even in business, working with them in any capacity, you guys are just good guys and good to hang around with. So there's like, now with that being said, there's always the controversial business side of things, right? There's always the difficulty of navigating. Me and you have talked about these in-depth conversations, at times about navigating through the business side and navigating through the shed industry, because we've seen a lot, right? We've seen like a lot of gentlemen's agreements. We've seen like a lot of disagreements. We've seen like a lot of businesses that just clash. So would you say, and I know the haulers have done a phenomenal job of this, led by you and Jason and whoever else deserves credit for that, but where'd you get the mindset? Like where did that crawl from to say, you know what, there's a lot of angst, there's a lot of anxiety, there is a lot of backbiting, backstabbing, all these conversations here, there, and everywhere. And then like, where did you get the mindset to say, we're going to do something different? We're going to change the outlook on that, or at least we're going to change what's in our control to say, hey, we want to be more about love. We want to be more about, yes, business is business, but at the same time, like we can do things different. I don't know. Just where does that come from for you?
That's a long answer. So I'm back to dragging some people into this. Richard has talked for years about love. How you everything, we kind of get hung up on that. I don't drag love into everything. At least, that was always my thing. But I kind of feel like I was about 10 years ahead of him on the fact of, if you operate, now he does a lot better. It's like I took something and he found his own way through it, and he makes it 5 times better than I can. But for me, when I found out that if I operate, and this started with employees I had at the time. This was back in the mid 2000s when I was running a construction company, had 13 employees on payroll building houses. We had our own poured basement wall crew. We did all our own plumbing, electrical, framing. We basically did everything except for heating and air and shingling, because I couldn't get anybody dumb enough to shingle anymore, and heat and air just was out of our league. But I started learning that if I take care of my people, they will take care of me in that setting. And it didn't matter what kind of personality walked through the door and started working for us. If you treated them correctly, they would reciprocate that back to you. So naturally, it just started changing my whole view about how I looked at competition also. And then to be, become president of business associations and home builders associations, you learn that you have to work together with people in that position. I didn't earn that position. It's like I got thrown in it, and then I learned how to operate it. So you take that theory, so to speak, and you move forward 15 years, and all of a sudden somebody starts a new company that's in competition with you. And all you're hearing is, don't do anything with those guys. And those guys don't do anything with you. You know exactly where I'm going with this.
Yeah.
And then walk Mike and Arlen. And for years, that's the way we were told to look at each other. They're competition. They're trying to, it was a headbutting thing. And Arlen and Mike are like Richard in the fact that they are shoe leather, in the fact that they will treat people the right way. And once you start getting enough of those people around you and you start reciprocating that back and forth, it's almost like it's a muscle. And the more you build it, the stronger it becomes. Take that and put it in with a guy like Jason Kaufman. And it just automatically, it becomes a lifestyle to where you refuse to look at someone else as competition. You look at them as somebody that we can together make this place a better place. Does that answer it? Kind of.
Yeah. I wrote down this question as you were talking, and I just obviously having thoughts of my own. You've done this. You've done this for years. You've definitely led the pack and the shed haulers, I would say, before the manufacturers or before the salespeople have really led the pack on this idea of togetherness, sharing, being able to, the Bible talks about righteous anger, right? I know it's like we're going to take a left turn here, but so people say, well, you don't have to be angry or you can't be angry. It's like, well, wait a minute, righteous anger is different. So like, I wanted to ask you this question because these are the thoughts that are coming to mind as you're speaking. Still yet, you've done all of that. And then people have pulled on your resources and then you've had negative experiences. How do you move past that? How do you move past it once your resources are used and then just kind of left to move away? Like, because you don't want to go back and be like, well, those people should be punished or whatever. But how do you deal with that? How do you deal with the negativity? I know that's a very real thing because we've talked about it, and I'm staying definitely on the outside of that because I don't think it. Well, I just don't think it's edifying to bring details into it. So I'm trying to go high level, here with like things that could help someone who's experienced the same things, not just in the industry but in life in general. How do you get around the negativity of that? How do you recover? What's your process?
Bitterness is drinking poison that you think you're giving somebody else. As long as I keep that under my as part of my foundation, and I'm lazy. I don't have time to deal with bitterness. I'll be mad at you, probably madder than anybody else. And I can be that way. I used to say only for a day, but I found out in the last while it can last longer than that. But at the end of the day, it does me no good. That does not mean that I'm going to wade right back into your little ring and let you punch me again. That's a whole different story. But at the same time, I feel like, yes, if anybody has the potential to be cynical, I could be. I hear way too much from haulers, from manufacturers, from rent-owned companies. I'm sort of and I'm proud of this tag, but I'm sort of the official punching bag. If you need somebody to punch at me. Where I got to be really careful with that is that I'm able to unload that and it doesn't stick to me. Because if it starts sticking to me, I get cynical about the whole industry. And I just want to walk away.
Yeah. No,
I don't think at the current time that I'm allowed to do that. So it is a fine line. But if you follow me on Facebook, I've used the example, I'm a dump truck. You can dump into me all the time and I'll run around with this load of garbage, whatever it is. I mean, unload, get it off of your chest, and then I haul it around for a couple of days and then I take it and I dump it. You have to be able to separate that stuff. So you can do it again, I guess. Well, and I had a conversation with a guy last week about it's tough right now. It's one thing. It's one thing to do it in 2020, 2021 when everything's going great. And up until then, even though it might have not been a 2020 or 2021, I started a shed business in 2008. Took it 2 years to do anything because the economy was so bad. But from 2008 to 2016, I paid off a unbelievable amount of debt that I had collected in the construction business through sheds. And we're not talking average price of $8,000 a shed. We're talking average price of 2,800, 3,100. That was what we sold over and over and over and over again, and delivered over and over and over again. So if you can, I guess what I'm trying to say is you have to be able to lay it up. Well, first of all, you have to be able to sleep at night. If you can't sleep at night, then you got problems to start with. And that goes home with you. I don't care who you are or where you're at in life. I lay my head down at night and I can sleep. People are like, I don't know how you do it. You can, and I do. I've with even with all my health problems and stuff like that, the majority of the time I can get a good 5 hours to 6.5 hours of really good sleep in. And for whatever unknown reason, the last couple of weeks, it's been great after I got over whatever the head flu was we had just before Christmas. But being able to lay it down. So I even went through, excuse me, I even went through a phase to where I had to stay sitting in my truck when I would get home. So, and unload it before you walk into your house and you deal with your family. You understand where I'm going? You know what I'm saying.
I do.
If you just jump out of the truck and you walk into the house and you let that life hit you. So just to have the ability to disconnect, that even shows up like when I went to the expo this year, the wide variety of people at the expo that, I had the privilege of talking with and communicating with. You have to be able to like cut it to where, okay, we're going to put this to the side and we're going to talk about this. That's hard to do. And at the end of the day, I think the biggest thing is you have to understand that I've been forgiven a lot. I have to forgive a lot.
Good word. Good word for sure. I do know what you're talking about. That kind of stuff. My biggest struggle right now is that I work from home. I'm either on the road or I work from home. So like a lot of times we don't know when we're working and when we're just home.
Yeah. Especially when you take your home with you.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. It's, well, and then, my son come back from college. He's joined us now. So like he's working alongside with us, doing some of the editing, putting out, social media stuff. And it's kind of like, wow, this is like this little network. He goes in his room and works. I've got my little room. My wife's got her little area. Like we all stay busy. I'm constantly on the phone with, whether it be my RTO guys or my marketing guys or something. And then you're making connections here, there, and everywhere. And at the end of the day, you're going, well, all of this is for business. It's to be able to support yourself. But I mean, I always have to go back to, God's put me on this journey. You know what I mean? I got to not forget that God's put me on this journey so he can take me from this journey anytime he wants because I've given this to him. So it's always one of those things where it's like,
big deal.
Do you want me here? Because if you want me here, no one can stop that. And if you don't want me here, there's nothing I can do about it.
Exactly.
So it's one of those things where it's just like trying to keep that first and then bringing things like those conversations into your business ethics. You know what I'm saying? Like how many guys have I been around who's like, oh no, he's using this to sell or he's using that. And then, really just kind of praying that like the Holy Spirit leads you in the right direction. Right. Because I remember hearing our pastor say that if you're in tune with the Holy Spirit, you'll be guided in and away from things. So like, there's been really cool opportunities, even some that's been given to me that I'm like, man, that would be awesome. And then all of a sudden everything feels like you should not go that direction. And it's like, uh-oh. Yeah. And then there's been other times where I'm like, well, this will never work, and that's like that tearing and growing season where it's like, well, it's not that it's not going to work. You're just going to have to put the work in.
Yes.
I don't know. These are conversations that feel more like a phone conversation that me and you would have. So I hope that somebody finds it podcast worthy and it's something that inspires their day.
Hi, I'm Dylan from the Shed Geek marketing team, and I want to address a common misconception about marketing. Often people approach us for just one service, like social media management, where we plan and schedule your monthly posts. While this is a valuable time saver, it's just one piece of your complete marketing strategy, much like a shed with its various components. Let's simplify it. Think of your social media channels and Google My Business as the foundation, similar to the runners of a shed. They support your digital storefront, your website, which is like the floor joists and band boards. To enhance your marketing, you'll need tools like Google Analytics, Facebook Pixel, and Google Tags, which are like the walls. These tools help track the success of your campaigns, measuring form submissions, 3D shed creations, and phone calls generated by our ads. Now, let's talk about the roof. Meta and Google ad campaigns. These are the top layers that complete your marketing shed. While you may inquire about one specific service, remember, they all contribute to the overall structure of your marketing strategy. At Shed Geek Marketing, we're happy to work on one individual aspect, but our goal is to build a comprehensive marketing shed that will truly stand out in the digital landscape. If you're ready to talk about your marketing strategy that will take your shed business to the next level, just go to shedgeek.com and fill out a submission form or contact the Shed Geek for more information.
So let's distinguish the bash from the barbecues. You mentioned Caleb, and it's funny because like Texas is the only one I haven't been to. 2 or 3 years in a row, something's literally came up every year. My mom had surgery one year. There was constantly something that has kept me. I'm actually going to Texas like next month, but no bash, but or no barbecue.
Yeah, no.
But
Yeah.
you know,
Well, I didn't make it this year either, and that was disappointing.
well, I want to because everybody talks about just how fun it is, and I've seen them do really cool things down there. But so I'm gonna try to line these out as best I can because I've been to a couple of them. I know that one of the first one that kicks off in the year is Travis Parks and JD Perry. I think Melody Troutman has a lot to do with that one. I might get the names wrong or forget someone, so forgive me if I do. But I've been to that one a couple of different times. They do a great job in Oklahoma. I think it's the 4-state barbecue is technically what they call it. And they just bring in people and vendors from all over. Really good time.
Oh, yeah.
You know, they've had like a shed building contest there. I mean, do some really cool things. The Southern Indiana or Midwest barbecue, Cliff Knapp and Howard Mast. Jonathan Miller does a lot with that one. Jonathan, JCM Reynolds, has done a lot, and that's definitely a big territory, I think, for them where they operate, but he's done a great job supporting that. And let's see, you've got the barbecue in Georgia. Matter of fact, it's the last time I got a chance to see you down in Montezuma. Southeast barbecue. Technically, so who all is technically over that?
Martin Hostetler is pretty much the, what am I looking for? The original founding member. He's had some people, Ruben Nault helped him for a couple of years. You have to give Jeff Yoder a shout out, even though he's not officially a hauler. He's a manufacturer down there. But Jeff and Gloria are a huge part of what Martin and Karen do there. Joe Lester, Joe and Ann have always been a big part of it. They always step up and help a lot. That's kind of where I wrap it around. There's a lot of other people that are involved in helping make that thing go around, but without just going through they all do. All of them have huge teams that make it really work good. I mentioned Mervyn and Caleb and Carl, but they always have. Laverne and Christy have always been willing to help there. Caleb's wife, she steps up big time at that thing, which is crazy because you hardly ever hear or see anything out of her any of the rest of the time. They just, and Mervyn's wife, Martha, she steps up everywhere and you never know it. She bailed us out at the Pennsylvania Bash. She bailed us out big time. That cold wind blowing through that tent, we sold out of sweatshirts, hoodies, and I think she came to me 3 times with a wad of cash like this big. She's like, what do I do with this? And I'm like, just, I guess give it to me, because we had no plans on selling out of hoodies, in 30 minutes.
Yeah.
She handled all of that like a champ. We just never saw that coming. There is so many people that make all of these things work that, sponsors, oh my word, where would you even start without the top 12, 15 sponsors probably that always step up right out of the gate. And if I'm talking about sponsors, that's the most exciting thing about the North Carolina Bash that just gets me absolutely pumped. The sponsors have stepped up big time, and we raised the amounts. And Jason and I actually talked about it. Of course, Jason's like, and I'm like, no, we're going to do it because we're going to pull a big crowd. This is going to be a big one. And so we did. We actually raised the amounts and actually put some new levels in. I'm all about giving people value for their money. Always have been. So I try to make sure that they're tied to something that shows them what they're actually getting. And the immediate response. So when I did the Tennessee Bash the first time, I was impressed with how fast people stepped up and said, yeah, we want to help. And there was a lot of people that showed up that were sponsors that stood around and helped behind the scenes and did stuff. David Weaver, Mel Weaver, Matthew Weaver were all big guys in sponsoring and doing like nobody ever heard of them, but they did a lot of work. Pine Hill and Cardinal, they're always huge. They show up, they bring a lot of equipment, they bring a lot of fun, they bring a lot of people. So what really is got me cranked about North Carolina is the sponsors that are saying they want to bring people. That's huge. When you just don't put money in, but you put effort in, and you bring people, I love it. That's a big deal. So I don't know where 2024 is going in sales and builds and stuff. Really don't care. We're going to have a blast. And the party is in the South. Like I said in our flyer, the difference in what we do versus the expo and some of the other things is we're all about hanging out and having fun. And let's throw some money at some guys who are willing to make idiots out of themselves. The guys that get in there and compete, they bump into stuff. They forget to lock their hubs in and they get stuck and they almost turn sheds over and all that stuff. We're going to have so many competitions this year. It's going to be ridiculous. You want to carry blocks? You can carry blocks. How many blocks can you carry? You want to level up a shed real fast? There's going to be little competitions going on all the time where you can just literally stop, do a competition, go back to what you were doing, and then we'll still have all our regular pickup deliveries, meal deliveries, our afternoon, on Friday afternoon, we'll still have the big three national competition. You asked the question about what's the difference in the barbecues and the bash. There's really no difference. The only difference is I consider the barbecues regional events and the bash is a national event. So we do try to push the bash a little bit harder from that point of view. And the bash is actually put on by the guys that run the Facebook page. So it has a little bit more ability to draw bigger numbers. I try to help the barbecues as much as I can. I promote them as much as I can. I think they're a big deal because at the barbecues, you get to know people a little better. You have more time to sit and talk to people. The bash actually kind of overwhelms you a little bit. I don't get to sit down and talk with people near as much as I want to. So it is great to be able to do that. But I'm telling you, I'm jacked about this this bash this year. It's going to be a big deal.
I'm absolutely ready to be there. Can't wait to be there. I missed the first year in Belvedere. I was planning on going. Something come up, couldn't make it. I guess it's the second year because the first year was Montana.
Yeah, first year was Montana. Yeah.
So technically, I got a chance to make it to Pennsylvania and then also out to Salt Lake. So I got to experience that. I think that just where this one's at regionally, it is definitely going to draw in a lot of crowd. And I'm excited to see, we just took a chance. So this was the first year that we dipped our toes in the business. Gosh, I don't want to have this conversation every time on the podcast, but like just kind of identifying, and the reason I asked you for that answer, Sam, was to distinguish the difference in the barbecue and the bash. And, you know, I've had to distinguish some of that myself, you know, on like, what is the podcast? What do you do? Right. I came into it. I was working in RTO. You know what I mean? It was, I was just trying to like build value, do something. I mean, I actually bought the equipment and paid for the website and didn't have $1 in mind. I think it was like 13 grand in just to do something fun. You know what I mean? Just to talk to people. And then little did I know it would turn into a business, you know, right, of my own, so I've had to kind of like navigate the narrative, right, of like, what do you do?
Yes.
We jumped into marketing. So we threw a few dollars. We threw a few dollars at the local event. We threw a few dollars at the Midwest event, and then Georgia, and I'm sure I'll do something with Oklahoma this year with Travis, and want to do something with the bash. I just don't know what that'll be. Maybe I can sponsor something or another. Who knows? We'll figure it out. Me and you will chat off air and hopefully work something out. But I just, you know, and if you're a vendor, like going to these things, like the amount of community that you build and talking to people, of course there's business that happens there because people chat, they talk, they just connect. And like, you don't go there even a lot of times looking for that, but sometimes it happens by default because you're just honestly chatting with people. So I appreciate you guys letting us do some interviews at the bashes previously, and I would like to keep doing that as long as we're welcome to be there. We'll spend the money or whatever we got to do to be there. But I think it's great. I just don't see why you wouldn't want to be there as a hauler, for one. Let me start with that. Just the amount of community you build, but then you guys are seeing. You're seeing salespeople. You're seeing manufacturers.
Oh, absolutely.
Come
I'm begging them to come.
Yep.
This is a hauler event, but it's open to everybody. We probably can't get everybody in the banquet, so the banquet's still a little bit more reserved to the haulers and the sponsors. But it's still, we sell tickets first come, first serve based off of that. I might give the haulers a 2-3 week advantage, you know, to buy tickets first before I throw them to the public. But this is, I cannot say this enough. This is a public event for the shed industry. I will also say this. I'm not a fan of carpetbaggers. Maybe we don't even know what that term is anymore. That's an old school term that my dad used to use. But if you want to come and do business, buy you a spot, so I don't have to throw you out of there. But you are more than welcome to show up, meet people, and hang out with them. That's what it's all about. That's what we want to do. But in order to honor the people that do throw money at us, I wouldn't care if you show up and you hand out business cards, but that's not fair to the guys that pay to do that.
Right.
So is that, you follow what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
It's
absolutely.
It doesn't, it's,
well, spend a little money.
I can't think of the word I'm thinking of, but yeah.
Spend a little money. If you have the potential benefit from it, spend a little money. You know what I mean? Support the idea. And then if you get some business from it, that's great. I mean, there's booth space available, obviously. So if somebody wants to rent a booth, you know, they can do something more official. If you just want to show up and just kind of linger and work the crowd.
Oh, absolutely.
You know,
come on.
Like understand, you know, that it's best to invest into what these guys are doing if they're bringing enough value to you. Kind of like the expo. You know, we didn't get a booth this year. You know what I mean? Because I was like, man, I brought my wife for the first year. We'll probably have a booth next year, but you know, I just wanted to bring my wife and introduce her to a lot of people. But even the same for what, you know, Marty has or Gary or any of these guys that are putting on any events. You know what I mean? Like, throw some money out. Throw some money out there if you're seeing some benefit from it. You know, more than anything, support these guys. That's the biggest key. Hello, Shed Sellers. Did you catch the latest Real Work Labs interview with George Converse? If not, don't miss this value-packed episode. Head to Shed Geeks Podcast YouTube and search Real Work Labs. George and the Real Work Labs crew are riding the wave of Google's latest updates, taking your digital presence to the next level. We're tech artisans crafting your neighborhood brand voice for shed sellers like you to stand out, gain trust, and get found online. Our software will easily capture your work snapshots, videos, weave your craft's story, and get reviews all in one virtual experience. Our innovation goes beyond getting found for your business location, rather getting found for your work locations. Reviews intertwine with their corresponding job sites. When potential customers seek local expertise, you're the proven solution they'll find. It's high time to map your reviews and showcase your beautiful work in a meaningful way that builds trust in customers' neighborhoods. Ready for the journey? Visit shedgeek.realworklabs.com or call George today at 480-787-7575. Real Work Labs, elevating your trust, increasing your conversions, and getting you found where you work in the neighborhoods you serve, one shed at a time. That
is the key. Yes.
I've dealt with that in some ways, Sam, in advertising. You know what I mean? Like, I know, I know what the process is like, unfortunately, because I understand it all too real.
I want Marty to make money. I want Gary to make money so they can keep doing what they're doing.
That's right.
We don't actually, as long as we can pay for everything, none of us care about making money. Jason and I and Josh, we're all employed, making money elsewhere. This is something we want to give back to everybody. It's nice for like a year, like when we did it in Utah, to have a little bit saved up so that when you go to a place that's a little more out there where a lot of the typical guys don't show up, that you have a little more budget to cover some of it. So we do try to stash a little bit away when we can to where we have it for the next event. And I'm not even, people are going to be asking me at the bash, where are we going to be in another 18 months? I don't know. I've talked about it and thought about it, but we haven't put that together yet. But depending on where it is, it will be a slightly smaller crowd because we'll be out in sticks somewhere again or whatever. But nobody expects you to do anything and not get paid to do it. It just shouldn't work that way. We do this event, don't expect to get paid for ourselves, but we expect the event to at least make enough to work and keep going. I expect the same out of Gary and Marty and all the other events, that's the way I look at competition and everybody in this industry. I want everyone in this industry to make money.
Yeah.
The more money we make, the stronger the industry is, the more people we can help.
Well, I started getting asked that question pretty often. It was like, so do you compete with, like Shed Builder or things like that? 'Cause you sell advertising. I said, man, I'm a result of Shed Builder. You know what I mean? I'm a result. I'm a result of its success. It's like, it's the same way as, everybody says, what about LeBron James or Michael Jordan? I got to give LeBron credit because he says, well, Michael Jordan is the inspiration for what I do. So I know he's said a couple of times he's the best, and he's kind of a jerk, and I'm not always a huge fan, but he's a good ball player. But he's always said, how can you really compare us when he was my inspiration? You know what I mean? So like the way I look at it is like, I always talk about the Phil Falls, the Sam Bylers. I talk about like the Richard Millers, or I talk about like the Martys and the Shed Builder magazine and what it's done. It created the opportunity for me to be here. So like if somebody asked me that, I would always say, no, I don't see myself as competing. I see myself as like an alternative. I see myself as an additional. I see myself as an additional opportunity. Yep. I mean, you've got advertising markets now with Garage Shed Carport Builder. You've got it with probably shed haulers in some way. The bash, there's at least sponsors that give to those events, local events. Shed Hub, sells advertising technically, although, they haven't really launched it. Yep. Shedsforsale.com, I notice, is now selling advertising on their platform. Banners. I mean, like, so like, at what point do you identify and say, it's kind of like man, this is a good conversation because I wanted to address this. It's like marketing. It's like whenever somebody comes to me and says, well, this company does marketing, it's like sometimes I feel like you have to be an educator to say, well, technically they're a SaaS program, their sales as a service. So like they have a software as a service. So like, yes, they do kind of, oh no, they've got a 3D configurator. So they kind of get into the marketing because all of a sudden, if you got a 3D configurator, you need a website to have a button put on. And then if you're going to have a website, you might as well be seen, right? So now you've got SEO. And if you're going to be seen, you might as well have Google PPC ads and meta ads. And it's like, so like sometimes people, I feel like maybe the understanding of what you do gets confused. And that's why I've been pushing this so hard, maybe the last few episodes, about being in control of your narrative. Because what I have learned is that if you're not in control of your narrative, people will assign one to you. And then you have to be that,
absolutely,
right? Yep. You have to be that because they'll tell the industry that you're that. And I'm like, wait a minute, that's not my intentions. So like, I don't feel like that's fair. Right. Like, so you have to go out and be like, I think my intentions are to spread education through entertainment, which has been the tagline. And then outside of that, if I'm in the business of helping people in some way, I've got to eat too. Right. So like you figure that out. So I know that's kind of I don't know. I hope that went over well. But
I understand. Yeah, I understand what you're saying. Grand Rapids, Michigan, the expo. I had the Shed Hauler at booth, and then about 3 spaces up, I was getting paid to work the Sheds for Sale booth. Mm-hmm. And I was in the Sheds for Sale booth, and somebody walked up, and they thought they were going to I don't know if they were trying to trick me into a corner or if they were going to try to get me to say A, B, or C, or what they were trying to do. But they were like, why would I do Sheds for Sale over Shed Hub? Or why would I do the Shed app over the Shed Hauler app? And I looked at him and I'm like, if you come down to my truck repair shop, you walk in the door, there's tools everywhere. There's tool chests that are slam full of tools. I have wrenches, I have ratchets, I have sockets, I have screwdrivers, I have pliers. I have 2 different kinds of screwdrivers and about 15 different kinds in both kinds. Why would I not put every tool in my toolbox that is available to me? And I don't even remember who the person was, but they walked off because it's like it's never a yes or no. It's always a or B. And in this situation, it's A, B, C, D, E, F, G.
Yeah.
Get your hands on everything you can to make. And today, I got guys calling me every week. Oh, what do you see in the shed industry? Where are we headed? Is anybody selling sheds? Is anybody? You and I hear this all the time.
Sure.
My phone rings off the hook. My wife would tell you. She says the man lives on his phone just for people to see. They're like, well, Sam probably knows what the sheds are doing in the Northwest versus the Southeast. Well, I do, but it's like, are you using everything? That's 2020 was so easy to sell a shed. I could sit it in my front yard and sell it.
Yep.
Now all of a sudden I have 15 sheds. How am I going to move that shed? You have to use every resource that's available to you. And you have to go to the bash to meet other people to learn how to work better.
That's right. That's right. Well, I mean,
had to get my plug in there.
No, that's good. Perfect. Your testimony there is kind of why, we jumped into the marketing side of things because we really saw opportunity to be able to help. So it was like, well, I mean, obviously no one's in business to do anything to other people. You're in business to help yourself. It doesn't matter who they are. You know what I mean? Like
that's a good line.
And
should make that a bumper snicker.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, I remember me and you both on opposite sides of, me being, affiliated with Shed Hub, and Sheds for Sale at one point. But as you were with Sheds for Sale, I mean, you're in the car and we're like, I don't get it. Like me and you away from everyone else with no one around to hear us. And I wish they could have. It was like, I'm not telling people don't use Sheds for Sale, or you're like, I'm not telling people don't use Shed Hub.
No, if you gotta have everything.
If it helps you sell, it really doesn't matter what it is. I'm going to encourage it if it helps you sell. So but I think what we do is we get stuck on, it has to be one or the other. I mean, we just launched into, I'm going to do a plug here too. So it's shameless. So bear with me. we just launched into the rent-own world. And I was like, why does it have to be one or the other? I mean, you know, if you went to get a home loan today, you wouldn't be like, I can only go to Chase. I cannot go anywhere else. Like, you're going to shop what's best for you.
Yeah.
So like, and for me, I've even heard people say, well, I use multiple, you know, RTO companies. And I'm like, that's fine. You know, I don't see why it's not, if it's the best thing for you. You. Like, the idea is that, like, you shouldn't be so conscientious of, like, my business that your business is taking a hit because of it. That baffles my mind, you know, at times.
I've had, a prime example of that is, I've had 5 guys since last summer ask me who they should use for rent-own. And those guys are going to find out right now, if they listen to you, that I don't refer the same people to everybody. Who one guy needs for rent-own is not necessarily who the next guy needs for rent-own. The cool thing about our rent-own industry is that it's diversified enough to where guys have different strengths. So depending on what a manufacturer or a mega dealer needs, it wouldn't be the same rent-own people. I wouldn't dream of doing it. I had myself in a position where I had no choice on that map. And I won't do that again, because that's not me. First of all, number one, I'm a connector. I just got to get figured out how to get paid for it. There's my little slip. But because I've been doing it for free for 10 years. And I'll keep doing it for free, but at some point I still got to make sure I get my bills and groceries paid.
That's right.
But it's back to the whole screwdriver box. I know manufacturers right now that I've secret shopped their sales lots, and inside the manufacturer that has 15 lots, he should have 3 different rent-own companies, because he has high profile, really good salespeople that sell completely different. You follow what I'm saying? And in order for them to mesh to their true maximum capacity, I could easily say, you need to use so-and-so and you need to use so-and-so.
Yeah. It's, I think more than anything, it's the maturing of our industry, and it's only going to happen through gnashing of teeth, right? Like, it's only going to happen.
Yes, that's true.
You know, by like, this is the way it's always been done, so this is the way we're going to do it. And then change takes forever to kind of like initiate and then actually watch the process play out to completion, because change is difficult. None of us like change. None of us like anything that changes. I mean, I tell people, there's times it makes sense to just work with that one provider because of the amount of value they're bringing to you. But then at other times, maybe it makes sense. So like, I think that's where consultation comes in, right? Like, you know what I mean? Like, you have to have a 30,000 foot view of everything. And then if you're, and that's why I say education's so good, because I always say a more educated person is going to make a better decision. And I don't mean formal education. I mean, the more knowledge you have, the better decision you can make for you and for your business and your family and, you know, the possibilities for you in the future. So I agree with you. I think you've provided a tremendous amount of value, and I don't think that you've seen, you know, probably the results of that, because I think that's been intentional from some positions, and I'm gonna get in trouble here if I'm not careful. I think people have wanted to use your resources selfishly, you know what I mean? And like, I've noticed that with the podcast early on, to be like, no, I'm not going to allow that to happen. Like, you want to talk about collaboration? This is my message to the MDSRA, which I love that program. Collaboration is simple. My competitors can advertise on my platform. Wow. You can't, I mean, I don't know how I can be any more transparent. If you want to,
that's,
you know, and they're like, oh no, this guy's out for blood. He's trying to get all their business. Well, maybe you need to consider that I'm letting people come on and talk about, and it adds value to people's, and if someone's like, man, I really like that guy, I want to work with him. I'm like, great. You found someone that you can work with, and it's a long-term partner, and that's awesome. And if that's not me, I'm big enough to be okay with that.
Yes.
Because I kind of feel,
good point.
I feel like that's the journey that, you know, like we should be on in life. And I really definitely feel the conviction of that, to be like, hey, I'm not everyone's favorite, color of Kool-Aid. You know what I'm saying? Like, I know that other people are going to find, contentment in working with someone else more. And I understand that. It doesn't mean that you don't try, you know what I mean, to offer services. But I think the difference is you can do it very cosmopolitan. You can do it as a gentleman. You can do it with conviction. You can do it without the nastiness that exists at times, right? Of like trying to earn business. You can do it, you can do it and keep faith first still. You know what I mean? And that only happens whenever you're, I think, transparent and honest. So, I mean, that's like, I just kind of feel like until God removes me from that, man, I'm going to hammer that down even further.
Are you ready to elevate your shed business to new heights? Your pathway to success just got a whole lot smoother with ShedSuite's innovative marketing platform. At ShedSuite, we like to think we understand the shed industry at least a little bit. And over the last 7 years, we've been building awesome software for shed businesses. We focus first on building easy-to-use software to help you create and track orders, like the point of sale and after the sale order fulfillment. And now we're excited to announce our full-feature CRM, all things pre-sale, like prospecting and follow-up, all to empower your shed company to market better and sell more efficiently. Our platform empowers you with a marketing toolkit designed to amplify your online presence, engage your audience, and drive sales like never before. Enjoy the ease of conversion tracking, email marketing, centralized lead communication, and so much more. Oh, and guess what? It even comes with an iPhone and an Android app. With ShedSuite's marketing platform, crafting and deploying effective marketing campaigns is a breeze. The advanced reporting functionality allows your team to analyze real-time conversion data so you can make informed decisions and watch your business flourish. There's no better time than now to join the community of shed business owners who are scaling up with ShedSuite. It's time to turn your marketing efforts into real trackable results. Visit shedsuite.com/marketing to get pricing, explore the features, and book a demo. ShedSuite is committed to building top quality software to empower your shed business to thrive.
Something you mentioned right there, transparent. That's a big deal to me. I live in a glass house that I built myself.
Yeah.
Some people would say that I got put in that glass house, but I'll own it. I built my glass house on purpose. I will stand on the top of it and shout to everybody, anything you want to know about me, anything you want to see about me, I'm here. I'm wide open. There are vaults in there where you can't get to nothing. Because I tell people all the time, if you need to unload something and you want it to just die, just unload it, because it's, that's back to the part where I said I could get really cynical if I wanted to, but I have learned very well how to not let that affect me at a high cost. But I'm proud of that I can. That sounds weird, but yeah, I'm proud of the fact that I can take people's crap and dump it and not let it affect me.
Yeah.
Industry wise.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. No, you've been a great resource for me to just talk to, chat with. And like, I feel like I've got a long-term friend. I shared something this morning, Sam. It was talking about, it was a Facebook post that someone had shared that said, a moment of patience and a moment of anger can save you a lifetime of grief. And there was something when I worked at a faith-based drug and alcohol rehabilitation center, I didn't go there to work because I had recovered from drugs and alcohol. I went there because it was a mission that I was put on to go and help others. I just love to see dads being dads, and I love to see families, being together. And I've saw so much destruction on the other side of things. When I got there, one of the first things that they taught was don't respond out of anger emotionally. And that is something that I feel like God had me there dealing with myself on. Don't respond in a moment, because it's easy to be emotional. I grew up that way. I saw that play out in my own family. And like, it was very important for me to understand about myself that I needed to stop and think. And I don't always get that right, but I think that I win the battle more than I lose it nowadays. And that is wait 24 hours before you respond. Because if it's 24 hours from now when you're angry, whether it's an email, it's business, it's personal, it doesn't matter what it is. If it's important, it'll still be important in 24 hours. But what time does is it has a way of starting to heal, and it has a way of changing you, and it brings your tone down and allows you to think with clarity. And we know that's, God is not a God of confusion, right? So like whenever you can think with clarity, you give a better answer. And so like I have found that it's absolutely imperative in my life. And sometimes I've even caught myself doing this when someone catches me up in a conversation and they are demanding an answer. I'll say, I'm not comfortable with answering that right now. Give me a day and I'll get back to you on that answer.
Yeah.
Because world's not going to change so much in 24 hours that I can't answer that. And it's biblical. It's biblical because God tells you not to go to bed on your anger. So you have to eat crow. You got to go to bed and you got to be like, I'm mad at that guy or that situation. And it's like, well, but you're not supposed to be because you're supposed to forgive. And you're like, I don't want to forgive. Give me another week.
Yeah, I don't want to do that.
Give me another week.
That's the only reason I'm still married after 30-something years is because of that verse. I always had to work it out before I went to bed.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Me and my wife, we absolutely do our best to never go to bed angry. And, there's times.
No, don't. That's, yeah.
Both of us have.
If I have one piece of advice for a new married couple, that's the one.
That's right. Yep. I couldn't agree more 100%. Like we have to look at each other from time to time and say, I'm sorry. Doesn't matter who's wrong right now. I'm sorry. And, I just want to wake up and on the good side of tomorrow with you. And like, we've had to do that. And I'll tell you what, it's a very humbling experience, and it is in business as well. So like, I guess what I want to say, a couple things. One, none of what I said today should be taken as negativity. It should be as,
absolutely. I agree.
As what's the word? Constructive criticism, constructive fodder, if you will. And two, I want to get on the record of saying that you and what you have accomplished through the shed haulers, I still say they lead the industry from behind. They might be the last guy to show up to a sales order from the time it's sold to built to delivered. But I'm telling you, what the haulers are doing is teaching lessons to the salespeople and the manufacturers and everything. So like, although you guys might be stubborn in some ways, man,
no way.
Yeah, man, are you guys like leaders at the same time? And the hardest working, I'll say it officially here on the podcast today, the hardest working sector of the industry is no doubt the shed haulers. And
this is true. Hey, by the way, my gauntlet's still up for a team of sales guys to show up and take us on in a panel discussion at the bash. I got zero response to that on Facebook, but I'm just throwing it out there again. I would love to have 6 of you guys show up and do a panel discussion at the bash.
Absolutely.
Would love, absolutely love it. I think it would be great.
Let's see if I can help organize it, help make it happen.
By the way, I am on I sold sheds for years. Most people don't know that, but I did. First 5 years, I delivered every shed that I sold. And then started building some of my own sheds, and eventually moved to where I had somebody else building them for me and had somebody else delivering them for me, and I had somebody else in charge of my sales team. And that's when I got the tunnel vision that I see so often in guys. They're so engrossed in their own companies, they can't see outside of that. And I guess that's why it's important for me to be able to see a bigger picture and show it to them. But I see a small change starting to happen in the sales guys. They're starting to be willing to stick their necks out just a little bit more. That post the other week aimed at the haulers, absolutely loved it.
Yeah.
It was a great conversation. I don't care if you get a little bit snippish with me, that's fine. But it was a conversation, and it was a great conversation to get started that actually came over. We have sales guys on the hauler page. Everybody knows who they are. Every once in a while, they stick their necks out and they show themselves. But I love it. I absolutely love it. I know half of my haulers would like for me to throw them off of there, but it's not what we're about. We're not going to do it. Now, if you do you click the right buttons, you'll get yourself tossed.
Yeah.
But great communication between those two. This goes back to a little bit what you said about I want time to think about something.
Yeah.
So often a hauler is on the phone in the moment, and you're going to get an answer that you're going to regret getting because you pushed him to a spot, because he does not have the freedom to say, I'll call you back tomorrow and answer this. Tomorrow's a whole new day for him and a whole new set of problems. So that's a key point you made there, in the fact that, yeah, it would be nice, but sometimes we just don't have that option.
Yeah.
But what I'm seeing happening on the sales side and the hauler side, it's encouraging to me, and I absolutely love it.
Well, I hope we just see more of it, and we need to do more of this. Just have you on and have conversations, maybe co-host or something like that from time to time, if you're willing to, or if you're free.
Yeah, I'd love to do I'd love to do some co-hosting.
We didn't even get into
all the time.
We didn't even get into the brotherhood. I didn't even get into what.
No, we didn't. That's all good.
I didn't even get to ask you officially what you're officially doing now. So we'll just.
That's all good. We'll leave that one.
We'll save it for next time.
What did you say about if we don't put something out there, they'll make up whatever they want?
That's it. You said a mouthful right there, because I know exactly where your mind is.
It's all good.
Yeah. How many jobs does Sam Weiler have? Like, I'll start. Hey, I'll tell you what.
Many.
Let's start one here. I heard that Sam's working for a kitty litter plant, and I heard that he's a maintenance foreman.
Probably.
I heard he's a maintenance foreman. So,
yep.
Let's see how far that one goes.
For the next 2 months, I work for the bash. That's what the focus is.
There you go.
The bash is directly tied to the brotherhood, so that's involved too. But yes, I want to see every one of y'all at the bash.
Well, I'm up against a hard stop here. I've got to hop on another call. We've been at it for an hour.
We're good.
Let's do more of this. Sam, I appreciate you. Yeah, I think all that needs to be said has been. Appreciate you, brother. Love you. Just stay strong. Keep doing all that you're doing, and let's stay connected. See how we can do more good than bad. So
don't forget to pray for all the haulers out there today.
You got it. You want to. There's always time to pray. You want to say a prayer real quick?
Yeah, I'll close this in prayer.
All right.
Thank you, Lord, for this day. Thank you for your blessings to us. Thank you for an industry that, even though some days it seems to drive us all crazy, it's a great industry. Some days I wonder if we've even begun yet. And yet I see so much in the big picture of growth and value and new people stepping up and paving a new way. God, I thank you so much for your people in this industry. Thank you for your protection over us. Thank you for your protection over all the haulers, wherever they're at today. God, I pray your blessing on their lives. For all the rest of the guys in the industry, every part of it, Lord. We pray your blessing on it, and that we would always remember what our number one goal here is on this earth, and that is to let your light shine and to show others your love. We love you, Lord. We thank you for your salvation. Amen.
Amen. Appreciate you, brother. I will talk to you soon.
Yes, sir.
Hey, this is Mo Lunsford. I'm here at the Union Grove Lumber Studios, and we want to say thank you to all the guests and listeners.